Revelation 1134. From the 12th of October 1939. Faith is the first condition for truth. Regardless how conscientiously a person endeavors to know the truth, its certainty is not guaranteed as long as his striving is not based on profound faith. Without the latter, everything presented and accepted by people is interspersed with error. In contrast, the slightest thought in faith will also result in purest truth. And then a person should pay attention to the abundance of thoughts flowing to him, if he, in faith of God, deliberates on any subject. In a manner of speaking, he will be grasped and most profound knowledge will be imparted to him, and he can be assured that it will be purest truth, for this is the fundamentally inherent way of thought transference that a person questioningly turns to the teaching-enabled beings when merely a thought desiring clarification arises in him. The only way for a correct instruction is the questioning desire, which will be instantly answered. Who is the only one to clarify all things? Only the divine Creator himself, and he does this by giving the beings of service to him the task of informing every living creation of what they desire to know. Every person's train of thought is the result of a more or less strong will for truth. For God himself is the truth. If a person desires the truth with complete faith in God, then he also desires God himself. This desire of the person's spirit for God also establishes the connection with the divine spirit, and thus the spirit in the human being will be instructed by the divine spirit itself and can therefore only receive purest truth. However, where, vice versa, the same desire prevails but without faith in God, the deity cannot make contact with the person's indwelling spiritual spark, and thus the adversary avails himself of the opportunity of transmitting his will to the person and leads him into error and wrong thinking. The inner link with God safeguards every communication. Anyone who calls upon God, opens his heart and listens to the answer will only be able to hear absolute truth. For God is willing to give wherever a faithful heart requests divine gifts, and truth is always and forever a gift from above. Truth can only come from above but never arise from the abyss. And thus people are wise to consider the divine Lord in every question, for truth can only be provided by the one who is truth in himself. And again, no earthly child will appeal for it in vain, since the Father in heaven will always guide his children into truth. Hence the spiritually perfect beings must also manifest themselves as bearers of truth to those who want to receive truth. They must not encounter any opposition if they want to express themselves, and this, in turn, requires profound faith in God again, in spiritual strength and their transfer of thoughts to the human being. Faith is therefore the first condition without which a truthful conveyance of knowledge is unthinkable. Once a person has found this simplest of solutions, whereby his correct thinking is guaranteed, he will neither be tormented by doubt nor downheartedly and hesitantly scrutinize such transmissions for their truth. But he will unconditionally accept what the Spirit imparts to him, since his attitude towards God assures him correct thinking after all. By comparison, a person who constantly longs for worldly things will not desire truth. He instinctively feels that worldly pleasures and the fulfillment of cravings cannot be the purpose of earthly life, but does not want to admit to it, and thus he also shies away from strictly searching for truth in all aspects of life, and precisely this deliberate avoidance of truth results in the fact that the Prince of Lies gains power over his soul. The eternal deity can send little help to such a soul, since the same opposition will also result in the same evil influences again, because God, the eternal truth himself, wants to be acknowledged, and therefore faith is the first condition in order to attain the truth. Amen.